Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 322, written by Matalina. Delicious pizza rolls every single day at school, only they never existed. Full disclosure, this was a little over a decade ago, in my first year of high school. I only just came across this sub, and this has driven me bonkers for years. I'm glad I finally found somewhere to share it. When I was in grade 10, we had a school cafeteria that you could purchase lunch at. I've always been kinda picky, but the cafeteria had one thing that I loved: pizza rolls that were just tortillas wrapped up with cheese and pizza sauce in them. These pizza rolls were only $1 or $2, so I ate them every day for a good 6+ months. Sometimes I'd go grab one where I was supposed to be in class, because I knew they were finished being made around 11:30 a.m. I bought them enough that I didn't have to tell our lunch ladies that I wanted them anymore. They knew I was there for those glorious cheesy wraps. Anyway, one day I went to the cafeteria as usual and asked for a pizza roll. The following ensued. Lunch lady: "A what?" Me: "A pizza roll." "Like a piece of pizza?" "We don't have any pizza today, hun." "No, a pizza roll, like the cheese in the tortilla." "I'm sorry, hun, I don't know what you're talking about." "The ones I get every day. The cheese and pizza sauce in a tortilla. They're X dollars." "I'm sorry, I don't remember ever seeing those here." This script might not be word for word, as it's been a long time now, but it's pretty close to. But the whole thing weirded me out enough that I'll probably never forget it. At the time, I figured she must just be forgetting. They make quite a lot of food every day, and she's not exactly a spring chicken anymore. The next day, I tried again with the other lunch lady, and the same conversation happened. At this point, I'm a bit freaked out, so I brought it up to my best friend who's been with me every day and mooched some of my pizza rolls more than once. She says the same thing. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I spent I don't even know how long trying to get her to remember these snacks she's seen me eat and even eaten with me pretty much daily for months. And she's starting to look at me like I'm crazy. I brought it up to a few other friends. No one even remembers them. I even asked my now fiance, who went to the same school, though we didn't know each other at the time. Nothing. I have no idea what happened, or why I seem to be the only one that remembers these things, but I know for a fact I ate nearly my own body weight in those things in my first year of high school, and now everybody says they never even existed. Bonus file. Written by rlnbns. Another incredible event at the Kipapa Gulch. Some years ago, I worked for a solar firm as a warehouse manager. I was in charge of the warehouse, which was located at the Kipapa Caves. The warehouse was 2 rented caves and the surrounding lots, which were fenced in. These caves were old military storage units dug into the gulch walls. The caves were about 200 feet deep and 20 feet wide and tall, reinforced with concrete. The solar firm stored their equipment and materials in the caves. The lots were where vehicles, heavy machinery, and a few 40-foot containers were held. I worked there with my driver. The caves had no electricity or plumbing, so a solar system and a backup generator powered the caves, and a porta potty provided relief. Cell reception was spotty at best, so I would have to drive myself out to make calls. When I started working there, I had no information on the history of this Kipapa Gulch. My work schedule was 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. When I started work, a lot of times it was still dark, so when I got there, I had to power up the caves. If the batteries of the solar system didn't have enough juice, I'd have to power up the generator. I'd normally have to do this using only the light from my phone. It was pretty quiet at our units. The neighboring caves were quite a distance away, and they were primarily used as storage, so we really didn't see anybody around. Rarely, a truck would pass by, going up the units further up the gulch. At first, it was like any other workplace, nothing out of the ordinary exactly. But soon after, I started to notice some weird happenings. The first thing that I noticed, which was weird, were the dead animals. Walking around the site, I would find dead Jackson chameleons all over the place. They were just there on the ground, dead. I figured cats were getting them, but I also noticed their carcasses were intact without damage. It looks like they just fell from the trees around the caves. There were also a lot of dead mongoose, myna birds, owls, pigeons, and ducks. all with intact carcasses, with no predatory marks like bites or scratches. Pretty weird, yeah? Now onto the really weird stuff. Every few days or so, I would hear banging coming from inside the containers. The containers were under lock and key. Every time I would hear the banging, I would have to unlock and open the containers and make sure nobody was somehow inside. I would open the containers and find nobody or any animals inside. After a few weeks of this, I said F it and stopped checking. I figured the materials inside were adjusting to the temperature changes. Okay. While working in the cave one day, walking to the back end, passing a certain spot, I smelled a strong scent of body odor. It was like I passed by very close to somebody, but nobody was there in that cave besides me. I walked to the back of the cave, did what I needed to do back there, and proceeded to walk back to the front of the cave. As soon as I got to the spot where I first smelled the BO, I again smelled the strong odor. Just as before, it seemed like I just passed by very close to somebody. I got to the entrance of the cave and quickly checked if I forgot to put deodorant on during my morning routine. But no, I did have my deodorant on. My mind playing tricks on me? I had a small desk set up at the entrance of the cave where I would work on a laptop. I would check emails from the office and do paperwork. Every so often, I would hear noises coming from the back of the caves. The noises were like something moving, and it sounded like something large, bigger than a mongoose or cat. At first, I would go back and check it out, but after quite a few times of finding nothing there, I said no. I again chalked it up to equipment adjusting to temperature changes. Okay. Again. One early morning, while it was still dark, before my driver left on his route, we heard a woman screaming from above the caves. The gulch walls were about 100 feet up, and the sounds came from up top. It sounded like domestics, and went on for about 15 minutes. My driver and I figured there was a subdivision up there, and a couple were having it out. A few weeks later, during a lull in my work, my driver and I decided to drive up the gulch and check out the other caves. We drove about a mile up the gulch and came to the last cave. From there, we could see our cave and what was directly above it. To our amazement, on the plateau above our cave, there was no subdivision. No houses, no roads, nothing at all. Who was there screaming? What the fuck? We had a lot of machinery, vehicles, electronics, and mechanical equipment. Solar systems, etc. Everything would seem to crap out, even our personal vehicles and property. We would have to call our technicians to come and repair the equipment and machinery. They were constantly there repairing stuff, but what was weird was a lot of the times they would come down and find nothing wrong with the equipment, where all of a sudden the equipment started to work fine. After a while of this, we started to video ourselves starting up the equipment so we could show them we were doing it correctly and the equipment in fact was not working before we called them for repair. But this is the creepiest thing that happened to me there. One day I loaded my driver up and he left for his route. I then had to go do my business. I went to the porta potty and locked the door. Before I could do anything, the stall began to shake back and forth. I yelled out thinking my driver came back and was playing a joke on me. I unlocked the door, hopped out, thinking I would find my driver laughing. But no one was there. I ran up to the cave to see if anybody was around. Again, nobody was there. I called my driver. The call went through and he was already on the freeway. He thought I was crazy after I told him what happened. After that incident, I tried not to use the porta potty as much as I could. After a year there, I was laid off due to a slump in the solar business. Only then I decided to seek out the history of that place. Look up the history of old Hawaii Kipapa Gulch and let me know what you think. By the way, one of the caves across from where our cave was is where the illegal fireworks disposal crew lost their lives. It is said that a crew member was smoking in the cave where they stored and seized illegal fireworks.